Kevin, so good to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm really excited to have a conversation with you and have the audience get to know you like I've gotten to know you over the last year or so. So we've got a lot to cover today, so let's get right into it.
Sure.
So first of all, Kevin, I'd love if you could introduce yourself to the audience, what you do, and where you are in the world.
Yeah, what's up, podcast land? My name is Kevin Duffy. I am a professional firefighter in the city of Yonkers, New York, just outside of New York City, also known as the Sixth Borough. I've been on the job 8.5 years, born and raised in Yonkers. I'm an ultra endurance, land-based triathlete. I work in a lipstick pyramid scheme. What else? I'm involved in accomplishment coaching with my man Jason here, and yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Sounds
But
good.
we're gonna get into the depths of this, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got some juicy stuff in there. I'm not even going to bother right now because I know we're all going to put it. I heard like 4 things. I'm like, oh, I want to ask you about that right now, but we'll get into it throughout our time together. So thanks, Kevin. Well, yeah, and thank you again for being on. So as Kevin mentioned, Kevin and I know each other through accomplishment coaching program that we're in together, as some of the other guests in the show that you've met before have been on. So Kevin actually joined us the second month of the program, and was an immediate huge benefit to the room. And it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you this year, which leads me into the next question. The tradition on the show is we get to give, my guests and I get to give each other our first impressions of each other. And because it's my show, you have to go first. So, so Kevin, what was your first impression of me?
My first impression of you, I remember walking into that room on a Sunday in February and going, what the hell did I sign up for? Kind of on a whim, but I saw the value in what was presented to me in the workshop the day before. And I looked around the room, like, okay, there's not a lot of women, not a lot of men in this room. But I guess trying to think back, glancing across the room, going, all right, 1, 2, 3. It's like, I think there were 4 at the time, maybe 5.
Yeah.
We lost 2, bailed.
I think that's right. Yeah.
And then I kind of remember being like, yeah, I think I can count on that guy. And then I remember looking down the row and just kind of scanning the room. But like, yeah, like, all right, another dude. Jason looks like a regular cool guy from the city. Like, hopefully he's normal. All of my judgments, and I'm like, I hope he's just a regular guy that we can get along with on this ride of leadership development coaching class, that program that I signed up for. So
yeah,
I had all the best intentions and hopes for you with a very open mind. Let's say that.
That's great. That's great. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I hope I've exceeded those expectations.
You have, yeah.
Or maybe in some ways I've let you down. Who knows? But so my impression of you, like, first of all, the thing I remember is that you had joined, but you hadn't been able to come. Like, you had joined, but you were, like you said, you're in the workshop the day before. So you had actually joined us the Sunday in February. And I remember you coming in, and I remember the same thing. I'm like, oh, thank God there's another guy here. Because there's a lot, and like, I love women. I have a daughter, married to a woman. But I was like, women are amazing. And I know you love women as well. But I was like, oh, come on. Like, there's like, I need some additional bro culture here. So I remember you coming in, I'm like, oh, cool. And I remember you coming in. My first impression of you, because you had to do your exercise in front of the room, was you seemed very unsure of why you were there.
Oh, I'm still unsure, and we're 11 months into this when this podcast gets released. No, I'm sure now, but at the time, it was kind of like, let's wing it. Let's see what we got here. This is a huge commitment, but I'm open to learning what this is about. So it was nothing I had researched. Yeah. It was nothing I was really kind of looking for, but a friend introduced me and had me go to that workshop. And I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. I think this will help my side business that I work that we'll talk about. And I was like, I could see the value in this. Let's, thinking it was just kind of like a class. Like, you get some tools, you get some homework, you do some things. But it's been quite the journey, to say the least. But it's been awesome to get to know you. So thanks for having me on here. And we'll tell the whole background of myself. But you've been a good a great friend now, and we've met a lot of cool people in the program. So it's just it's a good community of good people who want, to do good things in the world and be nice and explore kind of, what's out there. There's more to all of us than we know.
Yeah. Or we give ourselves credit for, or that we want to be sometimes.
Yeah. There's a lot of hiding and storytelling, but there's a lot of possibility in the world to create awesome stuff. So.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I'm really excited to spend the time with you and have the audience get to know you like I've gotten to know you. So let's get into it. Let's have them get to know you, and maybe they'll get to know me a little bit better as well. So first question I have for you, Kev, is what is something that you nerd out about?
Well, these days I'm a big nerd on nutrition, as I'm sure you know and have learned.
I do.
Food, our bodies, nutrition, healthcare, our overall well-being, mindset, mental behaviors around just the world, why people act, the way they do, why we tick, what makes people tick, but really bringing that all into what ties into my journey is food, nutrition, a healthy lifestyle, and kind of how that ripple effect spills into kind of all areas of life, which has been really fun for me over the past few years on my journey. So yeah, I definitely nerd out about big business, corporations nowadays with transparency and the internet and social media, and kind of seeing where we've come from as humans and what we were, the information we were fed our whole lives and why we do the things we do. And now looking back and going, oh, now we have all these smartphone devices and this instantaneous information, and, more things are being brought to light. There is some good in social media where it's not all garbage. You can get some good value out of it. So yeah, I definitely nerd out about food, and I've gotten into ultra endurance racing in the last 5-6 years. So that's another passion of mine is fitness, and how that all ties into work, being a fireman, and all those things are related, and they all help each other. So that's a lot. That's a big passion of mine these days.
So I think being a vegan in Minnesota, at least when I lived there, was like not a thing.
Well, really?
Really? At least when I lived there. I mean, growing up, I grew up in Minnesota. My grandparents are from Kansas. So I'm like a meat and potatoes guy. So when I think of, I played sports in high school. And when I think of ultra endurance athletes, the first thing that comes to mind is like carb loading the night before, get a bunch of protein, get a bunch of carbs, like pasta, bread. But you're not eating any of that stuff.
Yeah,
you're plant-based, right?
Yeah, I am plant-based. I've been for like 4.5 years now, summer of 2015. But I'm more conscious. I did eat a ton of that stuff for a long time in the beginning of my plant-based journey and experimenting, but like definitely learning more about gluten intolerance and where it's grown and how it's sourced. So I'm more aware of it. I still eat bread. I still eat pasta, but I try and find the better sourced versions of it, right? The better farm, the better ingredients, better brands. Really, it's what it comes down to: who's making it, where they're making it, and what's in it. Right? Is a big thing. So it's like bread is really flour and water, and it's baked. Right? It's like such a simple thing, but we've ruined it and turned it into like crack with sugar and pesticides and all this. You could go down that whole rabbit hole of where it's coming from, what it's sprayed with. But yeah, I've given up meat. I've given up dairy, eggs, cheese, steak, pork, fish. So yeah, plant-based, fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, whole grains, beans, a lot of legumes is what I live on, and I eat a shit ton of it. But it's that's really it. But yeah, I could see like endurance athlete. I'm an athlete growing up. I played D2 lacrosse up at St. Michael's College in Vermont, and I always tell people I wish I knew now what I knew in college, because I was in the cafeteria just hammering like the ice cream machine, the free soft serve, and cheeseburgers and like chicken parm and like big, heroes or subs with chicken and cheese and eggs and everything on it. So that was like, I thought the same thing, being an athlete my whole life. So it's really interesting to see how much it's changed and is changing today.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have some more questions about this, but I think we're going to actually cover more of this later in the show as well. So we'll move on to the next question for now, and we'll definitely come back to this. So okay. I think the audience is actually going to be interested in this as well. So next question for you, Kevin.
Yeah.
What's something that's inside of your comfort zone that might be outside somebody else's comfort zone? And I'm going to caveat that you can't say eating vegan and you can't say running 100 miles or 50 miles at a time, because those are both way outside my comfort zone. So that's just too easy. So I'm looking for something that's a little more, you have to think a little bit more about.
Oh, man. Well, I had immediately, inside my comfort zone is definitely extreme endurance sports nowadays. But if that's out, I guess inside would be, I'm pretty friendly and outgoing, I guess. So like being in a crowd, talking to people, talking to strangers, I'm pretty open and easy to talk to folks and get to know people, where I think a lot of people might not do. Some people don't do well in group situations. So I love to talk to people, get to know people, see what their story is. I think a lot of us get wrapped up in, I think modern technology has kind of pulled the conversation out of life. Getting out and interacting with humans, I'd say, is in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And something that's outside my comfort zone, I think, is, I think I struggle with, total transparency and vulnerability in my life, in what I struggle with and where I've come from, my journey, and owning that. So I'd say that's definitely outside my comfort zone, which, again, kind of prefacing podcast and thinking about some things. We'll dive into all that, and I will get way outside my comfort zone in our little chat today.
I love that.
I think it's a great time to share, some deep, dark shit that has brought me to where I am today.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, because I don't know that about you either. So I'm thank you for bringing that here to the show today. I think that's going to make the episode that much better and endear yourself that much more to people. So thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
So next question for you. You have 5 minutes to deliver a speech to the world, and I know you give speeches all the time. What would you give your speech on, and why?
I would give 5-minute speech to the world would be to follow your gut, take chances, do the risky thing, and learn from your mistakes along the way. That we're all gonna mess up. Life is set against us. I would say from the get-go. It's, everybody says life is unfair. Life happens to us, right? You gotta get behind the wheel, and things are gonna happen. You gotta make the best of them, learn from them, change your approach, change your attitude, and just keep doing the things that are holding you back, I think, is what I've learned a lot in my life. Again, also my whole obsession with food, I would say, take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, like nobody else really is going to. Food is a big part of my journey, of my message. I would say that, tell the people that you love them, and be real with people, because a lot of people hide behind masks, and it's, it kind of waters down the world with like what a lot of this is, and what we've been doing is authenticity and vulnerability. So you never know when people are going to be taken from you, as part of my story that we'll get into it. So, just loving people that are close to you, your family, your friends. Life is challenging. It's going to throw all sorts of curveballs at you. So, and if, something's in your way, you can probably accomplish it, because there's nothing bigger. There's no big roadblocks in front of you that you don't have the power to overcome. Which is big. I think we're all built for a bigger message, a bigger purpose than I think what a lot of people kind of get stuck in the carousel of life, and it's easy. Yeah. It's easy to just do the easy things, and I'm guilty of it all the time. So that's my 5-minute speech to the world. Take chances. You only live once. That whole sort of seize the day. Take care of your health, right? That's we only get one time around. There's no replacing time. Time is the only thing we can't rejuvenate.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, you're making me think. There's been a period in my life where I was really dialing it in. Like, my job was kind of easy. I knew what I was doing. Wasn't taking a whole lot of chances. And I'm looking back at that time in my life, I was really bored. And when I'm bored, it's not a good place for me to be, because I have a lot, I'm a guy who likes to do a lot. And I'm just thinking back to a couple years specifically, not in a good place, because I was bored and I wasn't taking those chances. I wasn't looking for any of the other things to take on. It was like, hey, you got this job. It's pretty good. You're married. That's cool. You know where you're going to live, and just like kind of sitting and hanging out. And I realized that I wasn't depressed, but I definitely had some time in my life where I was like taking a lot more naps, and I wasn't the least bit motivated. And I think most people know me. You know me. I'm a very motivated person when there's something that I actually want.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I think that's such an important message, that if you're feeling that way, everything that Kevin said, and then if you're feeling that way, to maybe take a look at like, what is it that's causing me to feel like I'm not motivated? Especially if you're like a motivated person, like Kevin and I are both very motivated people. Like, what is it why are you not feeling motivated? It's likely that there's something that you're dialing it in on, is my opinion on that. So I will be tuning in when you give your speech to the world. I'm excited to hear that, or at least your TED Talk.
Yeah, I've had that. A few friends say that you got to come up with a good 15-minute message, and that makes you think, like, what would you deliver, in 15 minutes or 20 minutes? As you said, I do a lot of social media and speaking and like Facebook Lives and stuff for my side business, mm-hmm. and it's a lot of people say keep it under 20. You're going to lose people nowadays with attention span. 15 is even better, shorter than 15. Like, I'll watch that, and so I relate to that. It's if it's 30 plus. Sorry to the listeners, we might go over an hour, but we're going to keep it interesting.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting. And we're not giving speeches here. We're talking. We're having a fun conversation.
Right, good conversation. So it's interesting to say, what would my 15-minute TED Talk be to the world? What impact would I want to create on people?
Yes.
That really makes you go, holy, I don't know, I got to look. And look into that and really hone.
Yeah. Well, from what I know about you, I would have no doubt that if you set your mind to actually give a TED Talk, that you could actually do it.
Thank you, Guy. Appreciate that. I'm going to work on that.
Yeah, cool. What by when? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
End of 2020.
You guys hear, everybody who's listening, you hear that Kevin will be have applied for. I'll give you you have to apply for your TED Talk by 2020. Okay. You have to apply for it, and then from there, there's a whole. I have some friends. Actually had a couple people here on this show who've done TED Talks, and I've talked to a few people about it. It's a lengthy process, and it takes a while, but the first step is obviously applying. Yeah. Okay. It's the percentage of people who get to give TED Talks as a percentage who apply. It's a very competitive thing to do, but I have no doubt you've got a lot of messaging and lots of power on the stage. So you've alluded to this quite a bit. So now this is the point where, love to hear you share with myself and the audience and have a conversation around your journey to today. So we're at the end of 2019. We've talked a little bit about how Kevin and I are in a coaching program together. We've known each other really for this year. We know you're a firefighter. We know you live in Yonkers. I don't think a lot of people know what your lipstick business is yet, but they will. And we know that you are an ultra endurance athlete and a vegan. So what else would you like the audience to know about you? And what would you like to share about your journey to where we are today?
Well, I think my journey to today definitely defines who I am. I think obviously everybody's journey defines them, but for myself, grew up in upper middle class Westchester, in Yonkers and Westchester. My father worked on Wall Street. Went to college. I got a business degree. Played sports. We didn't really have any. We lived a really, really nice life. We had a lot of what we needed and wanted as kids and growing up. And my parents, gave us a wonderful childhood. Mm-hmm. Super thankful to them for that. I would say that, the big life change for me was losing my brother in the trade center. So I have an older brother who was 4 years older, Chris. He worked for Keith, Brewett and Woods. KBW is an investment bank. They worked on the 88th and 89th floor. So he was on Tower 2. Second tower hit, but the first tower to go down. And I was the last person to speak to him on the phone about 10 minutes before the building collapsed. And I think from that moment on, I mean, obviously myself, the pre 9/11, post 9/11, for my lifetime experiences, my journey. But even in history, right, when you talk to people that for anybody our age or people who were around who were somewhat, I was 19 when it happened. People refer to that as pre 9/11, post 9/11. Like that's a major marker in our life. And for older generations, it was Vietnam or it was World War II. It's like, that's our, sadly, that's our history bookmark for life to kind of see before and after. And now, growing up in the tri-state area, how people are, and you connect with people, and they kind of can all relate to that. And around the world, I've traveled around the world, and people are like, "Oh, New York, what was 9/11 like for you?" And I was like, "Well, I lost my brother. My dad was head of the firm that was there, KBW, and he watched the towers go down from the West Side Highway. So losing, a son and losing 66 other employees to him is crazy. So it's been a wild journey to today from that moment, because I think a lot of what's not what happened for that happening to me, but what's happened in my life really stems from there. So that post college, after that, I was home for 2 weeks with my family grieving, and then my mom was like, "You guys just got to go back to school. Like we don't know what to do. Like we don't know what to tell you. We have to carry on with our life." And that was probably the best thing we could have done, because it picked pieces up and go back to school, connect with friends, finish out the last 2 years of school. I was a junior at the time. Get back into lacrosse, and get back into my community and with my friends and being around that support. So after college, I was a carpenter for a little while. I worked, a business degree, thought I was always going to Wall Street. I went to college in Vermont, learned how to ski and snowboard, and found the outdoors to be pretty cool as a
awesome
city, outside the city kid.
Yeah.
And I never worked in finance a day. I started working with the GC. I learned to be a carpenter. I was a bartender in Manhattan for about 10 years. I worked out in the Hamptons. I worked in Montauk. And then I got on the fire department in 2011. So that was is an awesome job and an awesome opportunity that I saw. A friend on FDNY said, take the Yonkers test. I think you'll really like it. It's very similar. So I have my buddy Christian to thank for that. And that was a great place to, be part of like a team again, team atmosphere, a lot of guys. And that's
question for you. So a question on the fire department, was that influenced by the 9/11 thing of like giving back to the community, or what was the driver for you to decide to join the fire department?
Yeah, it's interesting because I get that question a lot being a fireman. My brother wasn't, although, FDNY was hit pretty bad. And so now
343.
Yeah, 343. So being part of that brotherhood now is interesting, because it's like, wow, these guys went through a whole, I had my personal family experience. I'm like, but that whole community, those guys were just like devastated. So it's weird. It was never really tied it together. It was more so my buddy who was on in the city kind of said, like, what do you do? I think I'd just been working in my first office job about 10 years ago, and I hated it. And he was like, dude, take the test is coming up. You should take it. I think you'll like it, because you're like an athlete, you're a guy's guy. That whole, the schedule is different. It's not your normal 9 to 5. It's a fun job. I know it's dangerous, but you're totally different than that 9 to 5 grind. So that was what was appealing to me. And then getting on, I think, now seeing it, you're part of the community, you're helping serve and protect, and that's, rewarding itself. So, but I'd say from the get-go, it wasn't my driving force. It was, I had my own experience through that, so it was, pretty separate. But now being part of being a fireman, it's, obviously I respect those guys tremendously, and can't imagine that being on the job that day, or years after, for guys who are really, really close.
Yeah.
To losing that many friends,
Yeah.
It's crazy. So that's part of my journey to today, which led, I think, again, the fire department, and then getting on the job. And, I was 29, but I'd say through my 20s, I was kind of lost. I think I was living life like, any day could be your last. So it's probably maybe drinking too much and partying, and really trying to like make the most out of life, but kind of in a destructive way, with, I think, dealing with some post-traumatic stress that it still sneaks up on you today. I don't think it really ever goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting on the job, again, a great community and culture of guys, but it was definitely like an easy way to drink, party, and stay out late, and like fall into that trap of like, it's okay. You're a guy, you're a fireman. That's like what you're supposed to do. And I did it, and I loved it. We have a blast at work. The guys are awesome. But I kind of saw, as being an athlete, I was getting a little unhealthy. I was gaining a little weight. I was kind of like, probably having a little bout of depression, and lashing out in, I would say, finding my escape in, sort of unhealthy habits. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what ties into me getting into triathlon and getting into that whole sport of Ironman, because I wanted to change up my routine. I was lifting weights and kind of running, but not paying attention to what I was eating. And I was like, my sister had done one in like 2006 or 7, when she was right out of college. And it was like the coolest thing. I remember going to watch her at the finish line. She did a short one, an Olympic distance here in Westchester. And I remember like, this is so cool. Like, these people, they're swimming and they get on their bikes and they're running. And I was like, I could do this next year. So I signed up for one. This was pre-fire department. And then I did a few small ones, but never really got into it. And then I took a little bit of a break, and then back about 4 years on the job, I was like, let me get back into that, because I think it would be a great way to mix up my routine. And then I just went all in. A buddy of mine, Steve, got into it, and we were kind of going back and forth. So it's good to have a buddy that you can like train with. He's actually the reason I went plant-based. So after he started doing longer distances, I started doing longer distances. And then he said, hey, I think I found this guy, Rich Roll, who's an ultra endurance athlete, who was like a corporate lawyer and a drug addict, and had his addiction problems. He's like, let's follow this guy. He's got a really cool message. And we did. And I was like, I'm in. I'm hooked. This guy's got like a great message. He's got great results. And that was 2015. So I had done my first Ironman in 2014, not plant-based. And I had run 2 marathons that year, not plant-based. And then I switched in 2015. And then I was like, this is really all part of the whole message, is health and nutrition and food and lifestyle, and your energy and your mood. And like, I was like, this is, I feel better. Like, I need to share this with people, right? I need to tell other people how impactful this is for me, and kind of finding like a purpose, more of a purpose at work, because work is, we go on a lot of medical calls, and you see the sickness, and you see the heart disease, and it's just sad. It's just these people don't have access or the information to change. So tying that all together is helping the guys at work. Like, listen, guys, I went through the journey. I was overweight and not in a great place. Like, this has helped me push myself, and now I'm doing these races and pushing further and going longer and going faster and stronger. And that was, kind of this, what's possible mentality. If I can do this now and I can get better, like, what else can I improve in my life in terms of, everything. So that led to, I've done 5 Ironmans now. I've done 6 marathons. I've done 9 half Ironman races. I did a 50-kilometer run in April, and then I did a 50-mile race in May. So all running, completely plant-based, with some of my buddies. And, it's been this journey of just kind of pushing the limits and seeing what I'm capable of and what my body's capable of.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, question for you.
Yeah, I'm doing all the talking. Go ahead.
No, this is fascinating. I'm learning a lot about you as well right now. So you ran the New York City Marathon here last month in November. We're recording this here at the end of December. You want to share the audience the time that you put in, the time that you finished?
Sure. I finished in 3:13:56, I believe. Yeah. Just under 3:14. Yeah, so that was my personal best. Yeah, my personal best by 12 minutes.
Amazing.
And I'm 38 now, so I'm getting faster. I ran my first marathon 2014 in Boston. I think I ran 3:26 or something. That was my previous fastest. Yeah. I ran that race for all the running fans. I ran Boston on a charity slot with their fire department. That was the year after the bomb. So I reached out to them to ask what I could do to help raise money. I was going to run the miles, but I wanted to do it for a good cause. So I teamed up with the Boston FD to run those guys. So that was a lot.
You also raised some money for the New York City Marathon this year, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I ran for Army Rangers Lead the Way Fund. Is a great cause. A guy from work is a former Ranger and is heavily involved with their cause. They have a great mission, great message, help veterans. A lot of handicapped guys coming back with injuries and dismemberment and losing limbs, and just filling the gaps of whether it's money, finances, care, travel, support for these injured veterans, where it's kind of filling the holes where the government lacks, be it VA funding, whatever it is. So they do really, once I learned about them, these guys are really doing awesome stuff. So it was a great cause. So I was happy to do that.
And I wanted to also let you humble brag / out you on something. I think you know what's coming. You are currently listening to a world-renowned award winner in what some may say is a beauty pageant. You're like, oh, F you, man.
Yeah.
A beauty pageant. I don't know if it's quite a beauty pageant, but I would love if you'd be willing to share, in the spirit of vulnerability, the award that you won last year. That seems pretty cool to me.
So I think it was in May, I was voted PETA's sexiest vegan next door. So it was an online competition, obviously promoting a health, my message of not eating animals. But I submitted an application. Somebody sent it to me because I think 2018's winner was a cop out in Vegas. So someone messaged me like, dude, you got to fill this out. This, being a vegan fireman, this guy was a cop out in Vegas. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'm not going to win this. And then sure enough, I get a call. They're like, hey, you're in the top 20. And then it's all online voting. And I submitted my message, my story. And it was myself and another girl were voted the male and female.
So you're on the worldwide tour. You have the sash.
Yeah, it's great. The PETA beauty pageants are amazing. It's a pretty hilarious title.
It is hilarious.
Something that is not taken lightly in the firehouse for sure.
I can imagine when you won. I'm just picturing a bunch of alpha male firefighters. You're like, what did you just win?
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about the other thing yet. We've talked a little bit about this offline. Right. You must just get hammered by the guys at the station just all the time.
Oh, it's crazy, yeah, with the whole Arbonne thing too. But before we dive into that, a little bit of the journey, which I wanted to touch on. So getting to it's great the PETA honoree title, whatever I have, the sexiest vegan next door, spreading that message. So it was once I kind of embraced this lifestyle, being plant-based, being healthy. My buddy Steve and I were written up in the New York Times back in 2018 by a friend, the guy who I had met through a mutual friend who was a journalist and pitched the idea to the Times. So it was an article titled "Two Ironmen, a Garage, and a Vegan Agenda." So it was a little bio on myself and
cool.
like Steve, which was cool because I was like, oh, people are actually like catching on and interested in this message or this story that I have, right? So it's all the journey, which is cool because people noticed. And I remember meeting this kid, and he's like, "Wait, you're a fireman?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You're plant based?" "Yeah." Like, and you just did this was 2 years ago. I just finished my 5th Ironman. He's like, "You just did an Ironman like a week ago?" I was like, "Yeah." And we were out on for a weekend, and I was cooking for everybody. He's like, "What are you cooking?" Like, "I'm cooking all like healthy, all the stuff I'm going to eat."
Yeah.
So just talking about my really, like, I guess, embracing my journey and sharing that with people and be like, "Yeah, dude, like, I feel great. I feel better. I want other people to feel good because I came from a place of like, my parents got divorced after we lost my brother, and that was a whole nother story that was in the New York Post and plastered all over the fucking media because it was Wall Street and it tied into 9/11, and it's just like a story that would sell on the cover of a newspaper because people want to see tragedy and people want to see like bad, they love all the headlines. So all of these things was just like, the world is a pretty shitty place, and only I can really make it better. So nobody's gonna do that for me. And so just kind of really being focused and running, literally going full force at being a better person, being healthier, being happier with what I'm doing in my life, and kind of just sharing that message. And listen, not everybody's going to pick it up, but some people are going to jump on board. So like getting into the New York Times was a pretty proud moment for myself. And then, obviously PETA is just like the icing on the cake. And then
that is not a title that most of us will ever be able to lay claim
to. So yeah, and then another background is I've run for security with Kevin Hart, the celebrity. So that So that all of these things led to that as well. A friend works security for Nike, and he said they needed someone who could run a marathon on a whim. Who's like a big guy who's kind of medically trained in case of an emergency. So I got a phone call one day, and it's like, "You're going to run the Chicago Marathon with Kevin Hart, 16 days." I was like, "Okay, cool." So it's awesome. Like weird little things like this have popped up that I never expected. I was never really looking for, but it kind of all ties into what I'm doing and how I'm living my life. So I unapologetically now share my passion for a healthy living.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where we've got myself to today.
Yeah. So when you were running with Kevin, did you guys talk, or was it like when you say security, just making sure other runners or fans didn't get too close? Because I know they do that in New York as well. You get celebrities and people kind of like bother them. Did you guys run and talk, or was it more just straight running? And who was faster?
He's really fast.
He's in great shape. He's in amazing shape. Yeah.
He's a beast in the gym.
Yeah.
And he got into running a couple years ago. So he's actually really fast. I ran with him. He had a quick story on that. He had done a show Friday night in like Nashville. He flew to Chicago at 1 a.m. He ran the marathon at 8 a.m. And then he flew to like North Carolina to do a stand-up show that night. So he was in 3 different cities in like 18 hours and ran a marathon. Wow. So he kind of cramped up because the guy's like, he was on tour and he was just like, "I want to fly to Chicago and run a marathon." I was like, "Dude, you're an animal." So like I respect his hustle and his drive, and he is where he is because he's obviously a very motivated guy. Yeah. But we got to talk a little bit before the race because I had done an event with him 3 years prior out in Oregon. We ran a 200-mile relay race, and I was his one-on-one guy like through the woods for that race back in 2015, a race called the Coast. So he was like, "Oh yeah, man, I remember you from the other race." So we talked a little bit before the marathon, but once we got in, once the race went off, he put his headphones on. He had 2 of his buddies with him, so they were kind of talking to each other, motivating each other, and I was really just like, crowd control, making sure the young kids, high school kids were really like starstruck. And people, once people start screaming, the crowd gets excited. So just trying to be like, listen, he's just a human. He's running a marathon. Like, just respect the space. And trying to keep the crazies away. So it was cool. He's awesome. Cool. Really nice guy. So
I've heard that. I've heard he's great. I think he's supposedly recovering nicely from his accident he had a couple months ago. It was a bummer, but I think he's
wishing him the best. I think he's back out on tour, doing movies and stuff. So I think he's getting his health back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think they obviously filmed it probably last year, but the new Jumanji movie comes out. I believe today is the 13th. Yeah, today's it comes out today. I believe the new Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Jack Black Jumanji movie. Okay. It's like the sequel. I've seen a lot of commercials for it. So.
All right. So he must be out on tour.
Good luck, Kevin and Dwayne. I'm sure you're listening. So good luck. Good luck with the release today. Well, cool, man. Thanks for sharing your journey. That's that's obviously, it's fascinating. I've learned a lot about you and seeing what drives you to do these things that I view as to me, like veganism seems extreme. And I like some extreme things. Running an ultramarathon is, I think, extreme to most of us out here. That's just not something probably ever going to take on, but maybe, I don't know. But thanks for sharing that. I was, very sorry to hear about your brother. I'm sorry about what happened with your parents, but like you said, and I've had this same kind of messaging with a lot of the guests in the show, is it's all your journey that leads you to where you are sitting today. And you wouldn't be the person you are without these things happening, and although they're terrible and wouldn't wish them on anybody, it is why you're sitting here today doing the things you're doing and creating all the amazing things you are. And I'm sure your brother would be very proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, in the back of my mind, he's watching and judging me, but also applauding me at the same time.
Yeah, he's definitely giving you shit about a lot of this too. Like,
we haven't even gotten into the Arbonne thing, but he is for sure. He was like my role model and one of my role models and a big part of my childhood in sports and growing up and learning from him. So I'd like to hopefully make him proud with my accomplishments. It's not all a lot of the sad stuff, but there's been a lot of wins along the way to celebrate.
Well, I'm sure you are. So flipping the script a little bit here, this is the part of the show where we do a segment where you get to ask me anything. So I'm bracing myself because I feel like this is going to be a bit painful. So you get to ask me anything you'd like, and I will answer it within reason. And within reason, I have a pretty wide within reason boundaries. So I want to see if you have anything you wanted to ask me about that I could answer for you or talk about for you in the audience. Sky's the limit.
That's really interesting. What do I want to know about JFraz? What do you hope to create around your podcast?
We're getting meta. We're talking about my podcast and my podcast. Great. Really great question, Kevin. So I have 3 commitments in my life, overarching commitments. And we've learned about this through our coaching work together in the program, and like what actually drives me. And my 3 overarching commitments in my life are to excellence, to connection, and to fun. So what I'm hoping to create with this podcast is, number 1, that experience with my guests, so that they would say, hey, I felt it was really fun to connect with Jason. It was fun. And it felt like an excellent experience. And yes, I don't know what excellence actually means. I'm not sitting in a professional studio or anything doing this, but excellence in terms of the conversations I'm having with my guests, allowing them to feel like they can be themselves. So that's the first thing. I'm just hoping to create a space that is aligned to what I'm creating. The second thing I'm hoping to do with this podcast is just to meet people. So it's interesting. This isn't even out yet. So this podcast that we're recording here in the middle of December is coming out in January. I've got a list of 60 people that want to be on. And some of these people I don't know. Some of them I do, some of them I don't. As you probably know me, Kevin, I'm addicted to humanity. Our mutual friend Anna says that I'm like in the movie The Matrix, the chair that they sit in to plug into the Matrix. She said, you're like the person who wants to plug into humanity through the Matrix. and like explore the matrix and the matrix of humanity. So for me, just learning about people that I already know, like you, and having super cool conversations, getting a chance to meet people and invite them onto the show or have them asked to be on the show to learn about them and what they have. And I've recorded quite a few episodes, and I learned so much about other people, and I also learned a lot about myself. So this is, to me, like podcasting is what I'm looking to create is a mini version of actually what I wanted to do when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I wanted to be Jay Leno. I wanted to interview people.
You look a little bit like Jay Leno.
Thank you.
Some resemblance. Not the goofy chin, but
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So and I think Johnny Carson. It was like when I was in grade school. It was actually Johnny Carson, who's like to me is like the epitome, the master.
Yeah.
And then I believe he retired maybe when I was like 13 or 14. So then it became Jay Leno. And for you kiddos out there, it's now become, it's obviously Jimmy Fallon, now the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, who took it over for funny. Conan O'Brien, I believe. I think Conan O'Brien did it between Jay Leno and Jimmy Fallon, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be mixing that up. But it doesn't really matter. So like, I never really wanted to be a comedian, but I do like having fun, and I like having people laugh. I like to laugh with people and making people laugh. But for me, I've always really enjoyed having cool conversations with people, which is also the name of the podcast, talking to cool people. Like that's really, if I could just spend all day doing that, I would be very satisfied. So this podcast is like a mini version of my Tonight Show. This is my Tonight Show.
Okay.
Maybe it'll grow into something else. I don't know, but either way, I'm having a great time with it. So yeah, so that was the premise of me starting this. And I only came up with this idea maybe 6 weeks ago. So it's a new thing for me, but it's been awesome so far. And it's like a microcosm of the things that I want to create from a place of fun, excellence, and connection. So yeah.
Well, I think you're cool. So I'm glad you think I'm cool. And here we are chatting on your podcast.
Here we are chatting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You got anything else for me?
Yeah, what's it like being a father?
Wow, this is the second. So I've recorded 3 episodes today. This is the second time I've got a parenting question.
Really?
Yeah, it's very cool. So being a father is...
Because I know you'll share authentically where most of the world might, but that's just
You're exactly right. I'm about to give you an authentic answer.
The vulnerability.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. So being a father is, it's really amazing because it helps you. Like, so I worked in sales for almost 20 years, and say I'm a bit of a high-strung dude a lot of the time. I think I'm a little more calm than I used to be. But one of the things that it's really helped me with is like, most of this shit doesn't matter. Like the stuff that we get worked up about, and, I coach clients that are, like, that are, a little bit younger. And some of the stuff that people get worked up about, I'm just like, dude, like, this doesn't matter. Like, I've got my health. My wife has her health. We have a healthy daughter. And for the audience, we have a 3, almost 4-year-old daughter. So we have one child, and like, you just chill a little bit. You're like, man, like, does this stuff really matter? You got your health, you got a family. So being a father in that way is awesome. I didn't enjoy the first 6 months very much because it's kind of, and I know you've got nieces and nephews. I don't know if you've heard this from, your brothers-in-laws or anything, or it's like, you're not really necessary. Like the mom is the one who could feed the child. And yeah, I would hold her and we would bond a little bit, but like, she wasn't really quite interacting much yet. So for me, like, that part of it wasn't all that great. I mean, it's still great, but it wasn't that exciting.
Challenging.
It wasn't even challenging. It's just kind of like, why am I here?
Questioning your existence.
Yeah. Like, what am I, I did my thing biologically. I provided some DNA.
My sperm works, but now I'm out. I'm going on
exactly.
vacation.
Exactly. So that part was okay. But then and my daughter's name is Hannah, once she started to interact, it became really fun. So being a father is super fun. And I never knew how much I'd like having a girl, actually. And I love having a girl. And our daughter is very girly. And I actually like that about her because it expands my horizons, because the stuff that she likes, I would never pay attention to otherwise. Like, it's like really girly, Princess Sophia and all these like little girl shows. And now she dresses up in her princess costumes, and it's just super cute and super fun. And, like all kids are cool, but like having a girl, like, and I grew up, I'm like you, like I'm a guy's guy. Yeah. Sports, drinking, partying,
football.
Yeah. Football. Exactly. So now I get to experience the perspective of like, oh, I've got a 3-year-old with little blonde curly hair who's wearing her Rapunzel or her Frozen 2 costume and who wants to have a tea party with me. And like, I'll actually do the tea party and I'll actually like pretend I'm like a little girl with her and like put on like little girl outfit and stuff. It's really fun. So that part is,
the vulnerability is coming out.
And here it is. Yeah. I cross-dress with my daughter, but it's fun. She loves it. The other side of that, and the other side, and this is the authentic answer, is I'm a person who's very, very independent. So it can be very frustrating to be a parent because I'm independent and my wife works as well. So we have a very busy schedule and I feel very trapped sometimes because, being somebody who doesn't have a child yet, like you can kind of do whatever you want. Like you've got your work schedule and then you go for a run. You can go hang out with your guys. You can go do a coaching program. Like I can do a lot of things, but there are quite a few nights when my wife is traveling where I need to be home and I feel trapped. Not by my daughter specifically, but just the idea that like my freedom is not what it used to be. So that part is frustrating. And I guess that just comes with parenting and reframing that. So probably should do some coaching around that. It's reframing.
Could be a place to look, Jason.
Could be a place to look. I'm going to get really curious about that. But yeah, overall it's great. There's some times that it's frustrating. And also, she's almost 4. So I call her beast mode.
Oh, yeah.
She definitely has a personality similar to mine. So she likes to talk back. She likes to talk. She has very strong opinions on things. It's fun. But like, I look at her, I'm like, you're just like a little me right now, minus like any sort of semblance of filtering. So it's just like pure, like, what do you want type situation. So overall, it's been great. I love being a father, love being a parent. And yeah, there's some things that it's like anything else in life. There's a trade-off. And for me, the trade-off is the freedom. And also, there's times when I have to like coaching clients at night. And this happened to me the other night. I was coaching one of my clients and I was describing this. It's like a horror movie. So she's back in her room playing and I'm on the phone with my client. And all of a sudden I hear, Dada, Daddy. But it's not really a whisper. It's like the whisper, but it's not really a whisper. And so and you're like, okay, this better be important. It's like, can you fix my hair beret? Or it's never an important thing. So that part can be frustrating, but it's also cute. And I know looking back someday, parents, I have friends. Oh yeah, I'm gonna laugh. And I have friends with children that are older now that this like, hey man, you'll miss the times when you have the innocence of a 3-year-old because 10 years from now, she ain't gonna be like that.
Yeah.
So thanks for the question. I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Fun to talk about that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Enough vulnerability from me. That's it. I shut it off.
All right. I'm back.
Back to you, Kevin. What are you passionate about? Besides the other 25 things you've already shared with us.
Yeah, I've shared a bunch already between nutrition, racing, being a fireman. What am I passionate about? Really, it comes down to helping people obviously live to their potential these days, because I think a lot of people are, not a lot, I hate to like judge, make assumptions, but from my own experience where I was in life, embracing your capabilities and pushing limits, creating what you want around your health is my big thing. Longevity, and the future, and how do you want to live your life? We're all kind of programmed to go to school, get a job, work, and save, and then see how long you can live when you don't have a job. And it seems to be like the goal. That's
very dire.
Right? Like,
that's very dire.
Is that what we were put here to do? Is like work and save money, and then see like if you can live from 65 to 95 on enough money. It's like, that's sad. That's it. That was the bigger purpose here. So and obviously I hear a lot of that at the firehouse. guys planning for retirement. Guys are getting off the job. What's your pension going to be? A lot of guys, a lot of us have side jobs: carpenters, plumbers, electricians, real estate agents, lawyers. Guys have something that they can fall back on or go to for that supplemental income because it's sort of needed these days, right? It's expensive to wake up every day. Cars, food, putting a roof over your head, whatever your interests are. So planning for the future. And I think a lot of my passion really comes down to like mind, body, spirit stuff, who you are, who you're being, what you're putting out into the world, your energy. And that's all, it sounds very hokey and hippy dippy shit, but it's kind of true. The more I research it and the more I experience it myself with, my practices and my routine in life and trying things, it's super cool to see, when you feel good, if you look like trying to look better, like that kind of all happens naturally. You feel good, you attract that energy, you put that energy out. And, it's all related to disease, right? It was an interesting thing. I went to it's like a energy healer probably 3 months ago, and the guy said, disease is the word of dis-ease. It's without ease. Mm-hmm. So all kind of disease in the world can relate back to like stress, what you're doing yourself, whether it's your mental health or your physical health, and all of those. People might argue that it's not, they're not related to each other, but I see the correlation now, and it's pretty wacky, right? You're hearing all this wacky energy stuff from a fireman, but it's like, no, I changed a lot in my life and I feel better. And it's kind of led to a lot of things that have happened or that I've achieved, and things I can celebrate, goals that I've accomplished. So I'd say I'm passionate about changing people's approach to their health and the future, and really it all comes back to stigma around being a man and eating protein at the firehouse.
Protein, that maybe that's your podcast, is protein at the firehouse.
Yeah,
protein in the firehouse.
That's a big topic of conversation in my life for the last 4.5 years. But yeah, I mean, I'm passionate about my friends, my family, and all of the things that I do. But really, I'm passionate about being happy, being healthy.
Yeah. Question for you on that. Yeah. So, I'm sure we've got people out there who are listening who it feels overwhelming to even start. I know that in a way I feel that way. And you're talking about running ultra marathons and going vegan. Like, to me, like we talk about, those are what some would say, some would be me. That's extreme.
Right.
What advice would you give to somebody who's out there who either is dealing with some health problems that you think that could perhaps be, helped through diet and exercise, or somebody who is listening, they're like, hey, that kind of sounds like something I'd like to take on. How do you suggest that people start?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. It does seem overwhelming and like too much to change because of the sort of like personality or lifestyle that I've created. It is extreme, but you don't have to be that. I've gotten there because of like the potential and possibility. So my advice to people would be, anyone trying to start, is if you could change one meal a day to eat, even if it's mostly plant-based. But if you went plant-based for one meal a day, started there, whether it was your breakfast or your lunch, that like most people's dinner usually involves some sort of animal product. But I would say breakfast is an easy start. I always point people in the direction of like a nice fruit smoothie in the morning, and starting that and making that a routine. And a lot of times I get the question like, well, that's so boring. That's all you have for breakfast is a smoothie. And I was like, yeah, well, all I used to have for breakfast was like cereal. Like right. It's a routine, and routines can be boring. But if it's a healthy, boring routine, it's actually going to benefit you. So it's kind of shifting that from like, oh, well, that's it. And I'm like, yeah, well, it only used to be just this. So now it's only this. So it's kind of how you interpret that. It's just a choice. But yeah, I dove in. I was like, let me do 30 days. I'm cutting it all out. And then I was like, wow, I can stick with this. So that's a bit of like an all in kind of, that's my personality. But to ease into it, 1 meal a day, or even a couple meals a week, if you broke it down to 3 a day, 20 minutes, you could do like 10 of them, something like that. You know, it's a great way to start. Rice and beans.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Rice, beans, avocado with hot sauce. I could eat that every day for lunch and dinner, and that's plant-based, right?
Mix with a lot of protein.
Mix a lot of vegetables in there with that.
That's awesome.
That's kind of like my a big thing is like you're eating like peasant food. It's like third world country food. It's rice, it's grains, it's beans, it's nuts, seeds. It's like, you know, you're living off the land. It's just a good way to look at it. A lot of the conveniences we have is what's making us sick, right? Like, as much as you want to go back in time and be like the cavemen and our ancestors, like, they were hunting. They hunted like, I don't know, maybe once a month.
Right.
Every few months. And then in the interim, they were scavengers and gatherers and all that. So it's like, you can have that stuff if you choose. And I always, you know, there's a lot of guys at the firehouse that are hunters. I'm like, listen, I don't know how you guys do that, because I could never like gut a deer.
Right.
But I'm like, I respect that you guys do that, but that animal is like feeding their family for like months instead of the convenience of it going to the shelf, buying whatever. What factory farmed animals is kind of where that convenience is kind of where our health is kind of slid off the table.
Yeah.
So just kind of seeing where your food comes from.
Yeah.
Kind of connecting with that is definitely.
Yeah. Good advice, Kevin. Thank you.
Sure.
So you do a lot. You've done a lot. You'll continue to do a lot. What's the thing that you're most proud of everything we've, like just not even what we've talked about. What's the thing that you're most proud of?
You sent me this question and I kind of struggled with finding like the best achievement that I would be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really just has to be like all encompassing. It all comes back to the journey, what we talked about, not being, I think I sort of was maybe ashamed at times of my journey and things that either I've done or things that happened to me that life happens to you that are sad, and then kind of choices you make from there that you're not so proud of and you learn along the way. But I would say I'm most proud of my journey, aside from the medals and races and the New York Times and PETA things. I think just owning, embracing, and really, like I said, unapologetically sharing my passions. I think I'm most proud of. That's what just kind of gotten to where I am today.
Awesome, man. That's cool. Vulnerability question for you.
Yeah.
What's something you're afraid might actually be true about you?
And I've been told this before, but I think definitely being an addict and definitely suffering from post-traumatic stress. Things I think I was in denial for a long time, like through my 20s after 9/11, but I definitely, I think that's would definitely be true. Because a lot
that you're an addict?
That I was like an addict to, I might have been not partying too much, but like kind of going down that road at times in life as like an escape. So it never really caused me any problems in life, but I think having that personality, at times like you're addicted to racing. I'm like, no, I actually have a lot of fun. It's really fun. It's like, it's challenging, and I think it's making me a better person, but some people see it as an addiction. So it's like, I guess I could be an addict, but I'm trying to find the healthy addictions in life. So I think that's something that is true. I have an addictive personality, but I've just shifted them into a healthier category.
Yeah. Well, you actually just answered the second part of my question, which was, what do you do to compensate for that fear? But it sounds like you just answered that as you go. What I heard there, Kevin, is that you have redirected your attention, energy, time, money to things that are more noble pursuits, when you could have likely taken a different path and drinking, drugs, whatever it might be, that you've decided to take all of that addictive personality stuff and actually direct it towards things that actually serve you, like healthy body, healthy mind, healthy spirit, and all that. So yeah, you answered it without me asking. So thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, there's things I'm not proud of that have happened in my life, but
well, you are human.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, but you are human. So
yeah, some things my parents might not even know.
maybe only the father down at the church might be the only person who you said in the confessional.
Yeah,
which is this most sacred place.
Yeah. Oh, scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's true. Definitely suffering from some issues after 9/11 that I think I was in denial of. And now being aware of them, embracing it, and knowing that there's really no like right or wrong is what we've learned. It's just kind of how you deal with things, what you want to change, how you approach them, how you react to them, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of just what creates our reality. So just being aware of all that stuff, and nobody's perfect. You can slip into that place, but I think just having the mental awareness to make the right effort every day to combat that.
Yeah, cool. So we're getting near the end of the time, and I'd like to come back around and ask you if there's anything else in our time together that's come up for you that you'd like to share with the audience at this point. Anything you didn't get a chance to talk about, anything that struck you in something I said or something that has hit you, and just give you the opportunity to wrap up with anything you'd like to share.
We never explained my lipstick pyramid.
Oh, the lipstick pyramid scheme. Oh, that's right. We did not explain that.
How much time do we have? How much more time?
It depends. It depends on how long you want to sell the audience.
Do you want my 5-minute elevator speech?
Wait, hold on. I just say this episode is sponsored by Arbonne. If you'd like some products, please reach out to Kevin Duffy. I'll leave his information in here, the URL. Kidding. Maybe you do want to sponsor this episode. I
will sponsor this CrowdRise funded whatever
That's
episode
perfect.
With an Arbonne sponsorship, no doubt.
Perfect. That's awesome. Well, we will definitely do that. So yeah, Kevin, you mentioned earlier lipstick pyramid scheme.
Yeah,
I know what that means. Yeah, so give us what that means.
So this is another fun topic at the firehouse. There's I wish I had a picture. I can give it to you. The guys photoshopped my head onto a woman in a red dress, like standing in front of a bunch of products in like a convenience store. So it's like it's my head on a woman's body with like looking like the Avon. It's priceless. It's up at work.
That's amazing.
It's fantastic. So I've embraced that. Arbonne is a network marketing company. It's a vegan, plant-based personal care, nutrition, skincare, makeup line. The business I started about a year and a half ago. So I'm a consultant with them. I use all the products and I share them with friends, teach people. It's my way of another way of educating people on how to be healthy. We have a great nutrition program. We do a great 30-day plan. But then we have all the other things you use in the bathroom around your house that we wash our face and take showers every day. And a lot of that, which I've learned now through this business and through this opportunity and through the community of people, which again is what led me to coaching, right? Is how we met because I saw how our coaching program could help me further build my business and be a leader, be a coach to my teammates.
Yeah, absolutely.
To people in my business. So that's actually how we met, is because of this. I saw I was like, oh, this could actually help me build my business. And so now I do that on the side for fun, but for helping people get healthy, because what I've learned is a lot of the stuff we put on our skins has chemicals in it, toxic chemicals that are hurting our health, which I wasn't aware of. And being a fireman and going to structure fires and being in, hazmat conditions, just being in those situations, we're always worried about breathing a lot of that stuff in, right? And then we have have higher rates of cancer, lung cancer, testicular, thyroid, throat, all kind of linked back to the job, to our exposure, to our increased risks day in and day out. But what I learned is like a lot of the stuff we use and we shower with is actually toxic because the regulations here are near non-existent. So the 5-minute elevator pitches Arbonne bans over 2,000 known or potentially harmful ingredients. The European Union set the bar at around 1,500, and they've been the standard gold label for years to follow, where the U.S. bans about 12 of those 2,000 that Arbonne bans. So they've been around 40 years. And we use the platform as a place to educate people about this information, because it's really like the Wild West. The stuff we're using and buying in retail is like junk. It's toxic junk, and it's making us sick. And I think a lot with social media and where business is going online, it's all direct to consumer. So they do all the back end work. They do all the advertising, shipping, accounting. You shop online, it comes right to your house. You use the products and share that with your friends, and you be rewarded financially for doing so. And it's a great side gig. So I'm making really great money. I'm using it to build basically my second pension is how I expect people to have a second business, that when I retire, it will be where the world is going with online shopping. It will be a business for the future that I'll have built now for 15 years down the road. It will be, we're poised for massive global growth that nobody knows about the company, and they've been around 40 years. So,
that's super cool.
But again, it's all women. So it's like I'm this one of very few dudes that does this because it's like cosmetics, right? But I'm a big advocate for the nutrition. Really clean, plant-based, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, nut-free, no artificial sweeteners, no harmful chemicals. Really, really sourced stuff that they go above and beyond voluntarily to source these ingredients, and that's our motto. Our big thing is transparency. Show what we it's all the good stuff you want without any of the harmful stuff. So
I have two comments and one question.
Sure.
Comment is that feels really aligned to you, that it's a vegan, it's a vegan company, and that's what's important to you. So I think that's the perfect fit for you. Two, there are a lot worse things in this world than being the PETA's sexiest vegan in a business that's all women. There could be a lot worse thing. There could be a lot worse things than that in the world. And I've seen some of the pictures of like the conferences you go to. It doesn't look terrible. I'm going to leave it at that.
It doesn't look terrible. It doesn't suck. I don't know why my friends have not joined me still to this day.
Yeah.
But that is a further conversation I would have with them. But no, it's a lot of fun. It's people who care about other people and their health, and this is an easy way to show people how to feel better and take a little side. And they care we care about the planet. You don't have to be vegan, but I always tell people plant-based can be like your basis of your house, right? Like build a rock solid foundation, and then whatever you customize on top of that is up to you. You can customize your kitchen and your shingles and your shutters and your interior furniture, but like build your base. Plant-based can be, you don't have to be vegan.
Yeah.
But build a strong foundation of good, healthy foods, and you'll probably feel better without being overwhelmed and intimidated by the extremism of what people think it is. Right.
Like ultra marathons and straight veganism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All extreme.
And then last question on this: what if somebody wanted to try one of the products? What's like your go-to? Hey, the first thing I want to try with Arbonne is this. If somebody's like, hey, I don't really know anything about this, and let's talk about the food part of it or the nutritional part of it. What's the first thing you like to suggest to people that they try?
The big thing would tie into like the fruit smoothie in the morning is my go-to.
Yeah, so that sounds awesome.
Chocolate protein powder with some strawberries and blueberries, a little bit of almond butter, maybe some spinach, and we have a prebiotic, probiotic, and digestive enzyme that I would put in. So just a combination of that, a little protein powder, pea protein, a banana, some spinach, water, and ice, probiotics in a blender. You're going to get like a 400 or 500 calorie breakfast in a cup. Easily digestible. It's liquid nutrients, so your body easily absorbs it, breaks it down. It's already broken, somewhat broken down. So it eliminates that fear, that fatigue, the digestive fatigue. So that's like a very simple introduction to that, like one meal a day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In the morning. Quick, easy, no cooking, put it in a to-go cup and off you go. to the train or wherever your day takes you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know that you're quite the social media maven and influencer. I'm just gonna put this out as a teaser. Kevin not only plays himself on social media, he has a really, really awesome character. And so I would highly suggest that you follow him. I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but it's awesome. So Kevin, where can the audience find you? Where are you, if they want more information, they want to connect with you, read your articles. And of course, everything we talk about, I will put into the show notes as well. But cool. where would you like people to reach out to you and find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. At Hamaduff is my personal page. It's HAMMADUFF is my main page. And then I have another page at Fire and Iron Man, which is kind of like a lot of recipes and what I was doing to show people like how I was living, cooking at work and smoothies and stuff like that. So it's at fire_AND_Iron Man on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook, Kevin Duffy. I have a website, fireandironman.com, that is there with some information and a little story about myself and some of the races that I've done. But yeah, Instagram is a big one.
Nice.
That's where my alter ego comes out. Grandma shows up once in a while. So,
Grandma, you spoiled the surprise for people. Yeah. It's worth the price of admission. It's amazing. You will learn a lot and you will laugh a lot. It's amazing.
It's funny. It was such a silly thing, but I've gotten a lot of good feedback about it because it's great. It takes the puts a little fun into what we do.
Yeah.
Instead of getting so serious about it all the time, change it up.
Yeah. So yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's great.
Good. Oh, thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
Of course. So we're going to wrap up for today. Okay. And the tradition on the show I always have is that the guest leaves the audience with words of wisdom, and the words of wisdom need to fit on a Post-it note, or, it doesn't have to be like the micro Post-it note, but not a paragraph. Like, what's the thing you want to leave the audience with if they were thinking about, like, listen to that episode with Kevin, it was awesome. Here's the thing I remember it. What do you want them to remember in a couple sentences?
The few sentences I have for the listeners would be, follow your gut, don't quit, love hard, eat clean, train hard.
I love that.
And it's, it all ties into live life to the fullest. You could die tomorrow. Sadly, it's a crazy world out there, but find something you're passionate about and don't give up on it, because if your gut doesn't lie, your head, your heart, your gut all know when you're on the right path.
Yeah.
So just doing that, because like I said before, I think we're all capable of so much more than we think we are. So pushing the human potential instead of just saving up money for retirement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do the scary thing. Always do the thing that scares you. Not all the time, but if there's something that's been bothering you, then that's probably something you need to take a peek at.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much for being on today, Kevin. It was an honor to have you on, and I really enjoyed the conversation. I got to know quite a bit more about you. You got to know a little bit more about me for a few minutes at least, and I wish you the best in everything you're up to. So thanks again.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate you. This is a great platform, and I'm excited to hear all these amazing guests you're going to have on. It's going to be super cool.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.